They say a lie gets heavier the longer you carry it. If that's true, then my back should have broken years ago. I'm Nina, 42, and most days I tell myself I'm just a woman who made hard choices. The truth is less elegant. When Adam was born, I thought love would be enough. I thought being his mother would be the one pure thing in my life. But life has its own choreography, and mine twisted the moment his father left us. Adam was 4 when the divorce papers were finalized. His father never yelled, never threw things, never raised a hand. He simply gave up. He wanted a quiet wife who listened, who dressed plainly, who wouldn't dance in the kitchen barefoot with a toddler on her hip. That wasn't me. I was stubborn, too loud, too proud, and I refused to become less just to keep a man. He left without looking back, and with him went the income, the house, the security. I kept the kid and the mortgage. There were days I worked 3 jobs and still counted coins for milk. I cleaned offices by night and handed out coupons in malls on weekends. I remember crying into my pillow, praying Adam would never see the cracks in me. He didn't. He only saw his mom, who sang lullabies even when her voice trembled with exhaustion. Then one night, while bussing tables at a downtown bar, I met a woman named Lonnie. She was older, confident, wrapped in silk and knowing eyes. "You used to dance, right?" she asked out of nowhere. I blinked. "Ballet modern. Long time ago. You ever think of getting paid for it again?" That night changed everything. Lonnie worked at a place called Velvet. Not a seedy strip club, not quite a theater either. It was somewhere in between dark lights, velvet curtains, a stage that welcomed fantasy. Dancers performed themed shows, tasteful but teasing, always with style. It paid very well. I told myself I'd do it just for a while. Just until the bills were paid. Just until Adam had shoes that fit and lunch money that didn't come from the couch cushions. But months turned to years. I was good. Really good. The other women called me Silhouette. I became a favorite without even removing more than layers of silk and suggestion. I danced like a dream, and dreams pay well. I never told Adam. Over the years, I gave him a rotating list of professions: nurse, receptionist, hotel concierge. He never questioned it, not really. He was a sweet boy, bright and trusting. But as he grew, so did his eyes, and I knew one day they'd see too clearly. That day came when he was 17. "Mom," he said one night at dinner, frowning into his pasta. "Can I ask you something and you promise not to lie?" I paused. "Depends what it is." "You've told me like 5 different jobs in the last 5 years. I used to believe you, but I'm not a kid anymore. Where do you really work?" My fork clinked against the plate. He met my eyes, kind, patient, but steady. "I'm not judging you. I just want the truth." It hurt more than I expected, to see that calm look on his face. He deserved honesty. He always had. So I told him. I told him about the club, the dancing, the name Silhouette, how it started as survival and slowly became something else. Something that felt like mine. I braced for anger. Disgust. Silence. Instead, he said softly, "That's actually kind of cool." I blinked. "You've danced your whole life. And you made it work for us. You didn't ask anyone for help, not even him." He meant his father. Why would I be ashamed of that? I couldn't speak. My throat burned with tears I hadn't let fall in years. Then he asked something I wasn't ready for. "Can I come see you dance?" "No," I said instantly. "Absolutely not." "That's no." "Why?" "Because it's not for you. Because it's a version of me you don't need to know." He didn't argue, not right then. But he began to change. He asked about my shows, helped me stretch when my muscles ached, told me stories about dancers on social media who went viral, like it somehow connected us. I tried not to notice how closely he watched me when I walked around the house. I told myself it was admiration, pride. Then one afternoon, I found something in his desk drawer. A photo. Glossy. Studio lit. Me on stage mid-twirl, caught in the moment. From Velvet. Not one the club released to the public. My blood turned to ice. When Adam came home and realized it was gone, his voice shook. "Where's my photo? What are you doing with it?" I asked, heart pounding. "Just give it back." I held it behind me. "Adam, tell me. Why do you have this?" He didn't answer. His mouth opened and closed, like the words wouldn't come. We stood there, both of us suddenly strangers. That night, I was in my room, getting ready for work. Hair curled, makeup half done, silk wrapped around my hips. Adam knocked once, then entered without waiting. "I'm going tonight," he said. I stared at him through the mirror. "You don't have to see me like this." "I want to. I need to." I wanted to scream, to pull him away from this world I'd carefully shielded him from. But instead, I said, "Then tonight is my last night. I'm done." He shook his head. "No, you're not. You love this. And you're amazing. There's nothing shameful about doing what you're great at." His words struck me like a spotlight. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to say that. Someone who knew me. He drove me to the club that night. In the silence of the car, something shifted between us. Not romantic, not dangerous, but deep. Raw. A bond finally unveiled. I no longer had to lie to him. And he no longer had to wonder who I really was. And when I stepped on stage and danced, I danced for me. But part of me, part one, didn't understand, danced for him too. It was strange, stepping onto that stage knowing Adam was somewhere in the room. The lights were blinding as always, the soft thrum of the music vibrating through the soles of my feet. But that night, everything felt heightened. My breath came shallow. My hands trembled as I took my place behind the curtain. The stage manager whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. Lied. Because I wasn't okay. I was terrified. For years I had performed under the veil of anonymity. Nina was the mother who packed lunches, who paid bills, who painted her bedroom walls every spring to make it feel new again. Silhouette was the shadow dancer, the siren, the creature who lived in satin and smoke and knew how to captivate a crowd with a single look. Those two women had never met. But tonight they were about to collide, because my son was out there, and he would see both of them at once. The curtain lifted. The music cued. And I danced. At first, I hesitated, my movements precise but cautious, like walking a tightrope over something unspeakable. But the rhythm took me. I let go, let Silhouette take over, let her glide and twirl and stretch, a whisper of a woman who'd found power in movement, in mystery, in her own skin. I didn't look for Adam. I didn't want to know where he was. But I felt him. Not with my eyes, no. With something older, deeper. A pulse behind my ribs that beat in time with his gaze. The performance ended with thunderous applause, like always. The audience didn't know anything had changed. But I had. I was shaking when I stepped off the stage, the applause still echoing in my ears. Lonnie was waiting for me backstage, grinning. "You were electric tonight." I gave her a weak smile. "Thanks. You okay?" I hesitated. My son was in the audience. Her face changed. "You serious?" I nodded. "And you still went out there and danced like that?" She gave a low whistle. "Girl, that's guts." I didn't know if it was guts or madness. After the show, I changed quickly, pulling on jeans and a sweater, scrubbing the glitter from my cheeks like it was evidence. When I walked outside, Adam was leaning against his car, arms crossed, looking up at the sky. He didn't speak until I was right beside him. "You were," he shook his head. "Unreal. Like, beyond anything I imagined." I laughed, the sound hollow. "You don't have to flatter me." "I'm not." He turned to me. "Mom, you were phenomenal. You're like, not even a person on that stage. You're a force." Tears prickled at my eyes. Not from vanity, from relief. For so long I had buried this part of myself. Hid it behind fake job titles and forced smiles. And now here he was, seeing me, and not turning away. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" he asked, softer now. "I didn't want you to think less of me. But I think more of you." That was the beginning of something new. Something neither of us had a name for. He didn't stop coming after that night. Sometimes he'd drop me off. Sometimes he'd wait at the back of the club until I finished, claiming he was killing time. And I let him, because some part of me needed him there. Needed to be witnessed by someone who knew the struggle it took to get here. But it changed how we were at home. He watched me more. When I walked from the shower to my room in a towel. When I stretched in the living room before a show. His eyes lingered in ways they hadn't before. Curious. Searching. Sometimes it felt innocent. Other times too long. "Adam," I said one morning over coffee, "why do you keep staring at me?" He blinked, startled. "What? You're doing it again." "I'm not," he paused. Then smiled, a little sheepishly. "I guess. I just didn't realize how amazing you are until recently." My stomach twisted. Pride. Guilt. Shame. Longing. They all mixed together like a knot behind my ribs. "Well, stop it," I said, trying to laugh. "You're making me self-conscious." He didn't stop. And I didn't push harder. Then came the drawer. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for spare batteries. His room was neat, spare, filled with the scent of his cologne and something faintly citrusy, like youth. I opened the top drawer of his desk and froze. There it was. The photo again. The same one. From the club. Glossy. Framed this time. I stared at it for a long moment. My stomach ached. My breath caught. Why? I took it. Not to punish. Just to understand. When he came home and found it missing, he came straight to me. Where is it? I didn't pretend not to know. I handed it to him. I don't understand, I said quietly. Why do you have this? He stared at me, jaw tight. I don't know. It just reminds me of who you really are. You have me every day, I said. You don't need a photograph. It's not the same. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. That night I stayed in. Sat on the couch with a blanket around my shoulders, staring at nothing. Wondering what I had created. What we were becoming. Not wrong, not romantic, but something tangled. Too much closeness, too few boundaries. I had tried to protect him from my world. Now I wasn't sure if I had only pulled him deeper into it. He came home late and didn't speak. Just sat across from me, watching a rerun on mute. We didn't say a word, but the silence was full of noise. I lay in bed that night wondering who I was to him now. Mother. Dancer. Silhouette. Nina. I wasn't sure where one ended and the other began. And worse, I wasn't sure he could tell anymore either. There are moments when silence stretches so long between two people, it starts to speak for them. That's what the days became, quiet, watchful, tense. Adam didn't ask again about the photo, but I caught him looking at me when he thought I wasn't aware. Lingering glances, pauses in conversation, as though he was trying to understand something he couldn't name. And maybe I was too. The club became a strange sanctuary, because at least there, I knew who I was. On stage, I had rules, choreography, structure, applause that meant success, not confusion. At home, the lines blurred. One evening, I returned from work earlier than expected. Adam wasn't in his room, but his door was ajar. Something about the stillness made me hesitate before stepping inside. His desk light was on. The framed photo was back. But this time, there were sketches beneath it. Drawings. Of me. Pencil and ink, quick but detailed. Capturing moments I hadn't known he'd seen. Me stretching on the living room floor, fixing my hair, adjusting my costume. All from memory. All beautifully rendered. Almost reverent. I stood there, heart pounding. Not because the art was inappropriate. It wasn't. It was careful. Thoughtful. But because it was so much. So deeply observant. So close. I left the room quietly. Said nothing. That night, Adam knocked on my bedroom door. I was sitting at my vanity, brushing out my hair, still in the soft bra and silk slip I wore under my club costume. I startled when I saw his reflection. I didn't mean to scare you, he said quickly. I know I should have asked first. But I'm coming with you tonight. I turned to face him. No, Adam. Not tonight. I have to see it again. All of it. My mouth opened, but I had no words. You think I don't understand, but I do. You dance because it's who you are. You hide it because you're afraid of what people will think. But I've seen it, and I've never respected you more. There was nothing impure in his voice. No threat. Just intensity. I nodded slowly. All right, but only if you promise not to distract me. I won't, he said, and I believed him. He drove us there in silence. I wore sunglasses though it was dusk. He walked me to the back entrance, then slipped around to the front. When I stepped into the mirror room, the one where dancers touched up their makeup, adjusted straps, centered their breathing, I caught sight of myself. My own reflection startled me, because I looked like both women, Nina and Silhouette, mother and mystery. I wasn't sure which one Adam saw now. The show that night was longer, more layered. I was in 3 acts, each more intricate than the last. The music pulsed. My muscles remembered every beat, every rise of the hips, every calculated slow descent of fabric. But I danced differently, not because I wanted to please the crowd, but because he was watching, because he was seeing something no one else ever had. Me without lies. After the curtain fell, and I changed into jeans and flats, I walked out into the night air and found him waiting. He looked at me like I was lit from inside. You were. Mom, I don't even have the words. Don't try, I whispered. Let's go home. The car ride was quiet, but his hand brushed mine on the gear shift. Not on purpose. Or maybe it was. I didn't pull away. Back at the house, I walked straight to the kitchen, needing something to do with my hands. I made tea. He followed. Why didn't you ever let anyone see this side of you? He asked softly. Because people judge what they don't understand. I don't judge you. I smiled faintly. That's because you're not people. You're you. He stepped closer. Too close. Can I show you something? He asked. I nodded. He disappeared into his room and returned with a canvas. It was larger than the sketches. And finished. It was me on stage, arms raised, eyes closed, caught in a moment of weightless motion. Around me, shadows and shapes, a crowd blurred into smoke. But I was real. Detailed. Alive. You painted this? I whispered. He nodded. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he murmured. The emotion in my throat was thick. I hadn't cried in front of him since he was 10. I reached out to touch the edge of the canvas, and his hand caught mine. Adam. But he didn't say anything. He just held my hand. Not like a child. Not like a man. But like someone who finally understood something sacred and was afraid to let it go. I didn't pull away, because in that moment, I didn't feel ashamed. I felt seen. I used to think a lie could protect you, that if you wrapped your truth in silence and shadows, it would never hurt anyone. But I've learned something. Silence is loud. It echoes. It builds tension in the air until it hums like a wire pulled too tight. The days after that night, after the painting, after his hand held mine in the soft kitchen light, were quiet but charged. We moved around each other like dancers who knew the steps too well, afraid to make a wrong one. Adam didn't bring up the painting again, but he didn't put it away either. It sat in our living room, propped gently on the shelf next to books and bills. Like it had always been there. Like a confession you stopped trying to hide. I should have taken it down. I didn't. One afternoon, I came home early and found him in the mirror room, the tiny guest bedroom I used to use for stretching. He was standing in front of the long mirror, holding one of my old costumes. Not the revealing ones. This one was elegant, crimson silk, high neckline, long sleeves that flowed with every turn. He caught my eye in the mirror, but didn't flinch. You wore this the night you did the solo with the violin, he said quietly. You remember that? I remember everything. I leaned against the doorframe. You were 9. That show was hours past your bedtime. I didn't sleep until I heard the door open and your heels hit the floor, he said with a soft smile. He ran his fingers over the fabric like it was holy. I didn't stop him. I think, he said, voice trembling just slightly, that I've been trying to understand you my whole life. But I didn't know it until I saw you dance. I crossed the room slowly and sat on the old velvet stool near the mirror. I've been trying to understand me too, I said. But I spent so long splitting myself in two, mother and dancer, saint and sinner. I think I forgot I was a whole person. He looked at me with that same expression I'd seen every night in the audience lately. Not lust. Not judgment. Something harder to name. Reverence, maybe. Or grief for all the years he didn't know who I really was. I never wanted to be your burden, I said. I only wanted to be your shield. You weren't, he said. You were my reason. His voice cracked on the last word. And that's when I saw it. Not confusion. Not temptation. But love. Deep and raw and unfiltered. Not romantic. Not possessive. Just love. The kind that had never been given freely in his life. Not from his father. Not from the world. And when he saw it in me, his mother, his mystery, his myth, he didn't know where to put it. So he placed it at my feet. With paintings. With words. With unwavering eyes. That night, I danced again. He didn't come. He texted me before the show. Tonight, you dance for you. And I did. For the first time in years, I let go of the need to be understood. I danced because the music lifted something inside me. Because I wasn't afraid of the truth anymore. When I came home, he was asleep on the couch. The painting still leaned where it always did. I sat beside him and watched him sleep, his chest rising and falling with the soft rhythm of someone who finally felt safe. In the quiet, I whispered a truth I never dared say aloud before. I'm proud of you, of who you are, of how you see me. And just before I stood to leave, I felt his fingers wrap around mine, still dreaming, still half asleep. Don't stop, he murmured. Don't ever stop being her. I didn't. Not for the world. Not for shame. Not for anyone. Because the curtain between us, the one made of fear and silence and unspoken things, had finally been lifted. And on the other side was just light.